What's up, Vikings Nation? If you're feeling frustrated, confused, or even betrayed by what you watched from the Minnesota Vikings offensive line in 2025, you are not alone. This was supposed to be the year the investment paid off, the year protection finally matched the talent everywhere else on this roster. Think about it for a second. Over $100 million spent, premium draft capital used, big names brought in to stabilize the trenches. And yet, when the dust settled, the Vikings finished near the very bottom of the league in pass protection. That's the shocker we're breaking down today. Stay with me because this story is not just about bad blocking. It's about injuries, coaching decisions, former Vikings thriving elsewhere, and a major turning point for the future of this franchise. Last offseason, the Minnesota Vikings made it clear they were done cutting corners in the trenches. They signed Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, two former Colts starters, to massive deals totaling $105 million, sending a message to the entire NFL. On top of that, the Vikings doubled down in the draft, selecting Donovan Jackson in the first round. This was supposed to be the final piece, the move that transformed the offensive line from a weakness into a strength. But football doesn't care about contracts or headlines. When the 2025 season ended, the Vikings' offensive line ranked 31st in pass protection, a result that shocked fans and analysts across the league. Now here's where the story gets complicated. Injuries absolutely wrecked the continuity of this unit from the very start. The Vikings' projected starting offensive line played just 89 snaps together all season. That number is almost unbelievable when you really think about it. Offensive line play is all about chemistry, timing, and trust, and the Minnesota Vikings never had a chance to build any of that consistently. Week after week, new combinations were forced onto the field, and the ripple effect was obvious. Pressures came fast, pockets collapsed early, and quarterbacks were left fighting for survival. Even with the injury context, changes were inevitable. According to ESPN's Kevin Seifert, the Vikings chose not to retain offensive line coach Chris Cooper and are now actively searching for his replacement. Cooper was not just any assistant. He was part of Kevin O'Connell's original staff back in 2022, brought in to help reshape the identity of this offensive front. Letting him go sends a loud message. The Minnesota Vikings are not satisfied with excuses anymore. Results matter, and the results simply were not good enough. To be fair, Chris Cooper did have some real development wins. Christian Darrisaw became one of the premier left tackles in football under his watch when healthy, and Blake Brandel grew into a legitimate starting caliber player. Those successes matter, and they show Cooper wasn't completely failing in his role. Player development did happen in key spots, but football is a results-driven business, and the rest of the offensive line never caught up. The interior, in particular, continued to struggle at an alarming rate. According to The Athletic's Alec Lewis, Minnesota's interior offensive line allowed the highest pressure rate in the entire NFL during the 2025 season. Only the Raiders gave up more sacks from the inside. Yes, the run game improved as the season went on, and credit deserves to be given there. But when facing physical, disciplined defensive fronts, the same problems kept showing up. For a team built around offensive rhythm and timing, those interior breakdowns became drive killers, momentum crushers, and ultimately game-deciding failures. Now here's the part that really stings for Vikings fans. Several former Minnesota Vikings offensive linemen went on to have strong seasons elsewhere in 2025, and that did not go unnoticed inside the organization. Garrett Bradbury, once a lightning rod for criticism in Minnesota, quietly put together an excellent year with the New England Patriots. Ed Ingram stabilized the Texans' interior. Ezra Cleveland found consistency in Jacksonville. When players leave and suddenly look better, questions have to be asked. About coaching, about scheme, about development philosophy. Bradbury's turnaround is especially painful. A former first-round pick, he allowed a career-low 21 pressures with the Patriots and did not give up a single sack all season, according to Pro Football Focus. In Minnesota, it never quite clicked. In New England, he looked calm, controlled, and confident. That contrast is impossible to ignore. For a front office obsessed with efficiency and value, watching that kind of resurgence elsewhere hits hard. Ed Ingram's story follows a similar path. During his 3 seasons with the Vikings, his PFF grades never cracked 60.0, and inconsistency defined his tenure. In Houston, everything changed. Ingram posted a 74.2 overall PFF grade and became a key contributor on a Texans team pushing toward the playoffs. That kind of jump doesn't happen by accident, and it adds another layer to why the Vikings felt it was time to move on from Chris Cooper. Ezra Cleveland also enjoyed the best pass protection season of his career in 2025. After years of sub-60.0 grades in Minnesota, he finished with a strong 71.4 pass blocking grade in Jacksonville. Even Dalton Risner, another former Viking, allowed a career-best 17 pressures while playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. When this many former players improve elsewhere, it stops being coincidence and starts becoming a pattern. Of course, no discussion about the Vikings' offensive line is complete without talking about Christian Darrisaw. His injury-riddled season loomed over everything. After undergoing knee surgery and spending a full year in rehab, Darrisaw simply couldn't stay on the field consistently. He played just 50.3% of the offensive snaps in 2025. When your best lineman is missing that often, the entire structure collapses. Protection schemes change, help shifts, and weaknesses get exposed. General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah addressed Darrisaw's situation directly at his end-of-season press conference. He emphasized that time is still on their side in terms of recovery. Another full year of rehab, strengthening, and conditioning could finally put that injury in the past. The Vikings remain confident in Darrisaw as a cornerstone player, but confidence doesn't erase reality. The Minnesota Vikings had to use 20 different offensive line combinations this season, a staggering number that explains so much of the chaos. Ryan Kelly's multiple concussions only added to the instability. Week after week, adjustments had to be made on the fly, often against elite defensive fronts. That constant shuffling made consistency impossible and magnified every flaw in technique and communication. Looking ahead, Adofo-Mensah made it clear that tackle depth will be a major priority this offseason, not just as backup insurance but as a philosophical shift in roster building. He talked about building a roster of aspiration, where the next man up can step in without the entire unit collapsing. Is that realistic in the NFL? Not always, but that mindset is exactly what the Vikings are trying to establish moving forward. So here we are, Vikings Nation, at a crossroads. Massive investment, disappointing results, a coaching change, and big questions about development and depth. The Minnesota Vikings are clearly not standing still. They're reevaluating, adjusting, and preparing to attack this problem again in the draft and free agency. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think moving on from Chris Cooper was the right call? Is this more about injuries, or does the scheme need a full reset? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate it like real fans. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Minnesota Vikings news, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with every Vikings fan you know. Skol!